today we're talking about something I get a question about a lot on social media, in my emails, even by my own customers in the Ultimate Bundle, asking if you're allowed to use the free included terms of use or terms and conditions when you sign up for some sort of tool or software like Thinkific or Kajabi or any of the other platforms, right? It doesn't really matter. Insert platform here. People always ask me if you can use the free terms of use or like the, I don't know, default terms of use, I guess, that are included on those platforms, and whether that's good enough or whether you have to get your own thing, whether you should customize it. Is there something that's missing from there? And I think that these are all really, really good questions because it's pretty confusing, right? It's like, well, if they've provided it to you, surely it should be pretty good, right? But here's the thing. You still need your own terms of use. So if you're selling, for example, an online course, a membership, or a digital product, you still want to get your own terms of use, which is a contract. It's like a type of contract that you include at checkout so that people have to click on something when they purchase from you and they have to agree to that at checkout. So they're checking off a box that says like, I have read and agreed to these terms of use, and then they purchase and they buy and they go on their merry way, right? So yes, you still want your own. You do not want to use the free ones that come from really any platform. And by the way, this is no diss about any of these platforms. I think they're trying to be nice, and I think they're just trying to like provide you with something. But also in my experience, I tend to notice two things. One is that the free terms that are often provided are just woefully inadequate, right? So they're just not containing a lot of the information, which I will go over in a second, but they're not containing a lot of the information that you need. And they're not at all customized to you or what you do, because also you have to, as a business, you have to set the terms and you have to set the rules, because then you know what they are. So you know if people are actually following them or breaking them, or what to do if they do break them. But if you've just accepted default rules, you're like, I'm not really sure what it says, or like, I'm not really sure what I can do about it. The second thing is that I do tend to notice that the terms of use that are provided by these companies are a little bit more geared towards protecting them as well, right? Which again is like their prerogative, their company, and they're providing these for free and they don't have any obligation to do so. But that is something that I notice when I've read them before. Like a good giveaway, for example, is if it includes any indemnification language, because indemnification is essentially a fancy legal term where we pass on the legal responsibility to somebody else if something happens. And so sometimes what I see in these like freebie clauses that are provided by companies is that they're actually putting all the liability on you in case something happens in your customer's use of their own platform. So remember earlier I said that they are woefully inadequate, right? So what are some of the things that are missing, typically speaking, from these kinds of freebie documents? Well, for one, I see a lot of the financial, I would say like the financial and the payment terms provisions are some of the worst. I would say that's both because it's missing a lot of the language that you need legally, but also that is the place where it's going to need the most customization and input from you, because everybody's like payment structure and refund policy or like chargeback policy or whatever your policy is about kicking somebody out after a certain number of attempts, whether they get access to the course again, whether they do, don't, all that kind of stuff, whether they get a refund, that is all so highly individual. They also are typically missing the legal language that you need that's actually legally required to continuously charge somebody's credit card without going back to them for like express permission every single time. I also don't ever see any chargeback threat protection. I mean, this is pretty common in our industry, but it's not something I see mentioned. So chargeback threat is when a person goes to their credit card company and says like, I didn't like this and I want my money back, right? Instead of going to you, or maybe they do this to their credit card company after they've tried speaking to you and you've enforced your refund policy. Sometimes people do this in a kind of fraudulent way where they'll say like, I never got the product, even though they did, right? Again, this is one of those things where you can really successfully defend yourself against these chargeback threats if you have the proper legal language in your terms and you presented the terms properly. So I don't tend to see that language in the freebie contracts, but they are in my templates. I also don't see a whole lot about intellectual property protection. If I see anything, it might be like a general IP statement, but it is important for people to know that this stuff is your intellectual property. I also think it's important to have more specific language in that section or somewhere in your terms of use that talks about the fact that, like, let's say you're selling an online course, this course is not meant for people who want to be inspired by something and to go out and create their own. So they can use the content and the substance of what's in your course for their own personal use, but it's not meant to be something that is replicated elsewhere. It's not licensed. You're not offering them any sort of license. Like, that's a very complicated legal topic. And so that's not something I see typically addressed in these freebie contracts. Now, one of the other ways that I see this being one of those issues that like this comes up a lot in day-to-day life. As I always say, like, people aren't typically getting sued left and right, but we have a lot of day-to-day legal issues. So one of the legal issues that comes up often is that people will have somebody kind of unruly in their course or in their community, for example, and they want to know if they can remove that person. Like, let's say somebody's being bad in your Facebook group or in your circle membership or something like this, and you might want to still give them access to the content or the resources, but not allow them to comment or participate in the community or something like that. That's the kind of thing that you want to address in a terms of use at checkout, because it would give you the legal right to say, hey, you don't automatically or without any qualms about it, like, have access to this community indefinitely forever, no matter what you do. Like, we want to be able to limit that, only obviously for the bad cases, but like, you still want to be able to limit that. And I have seen that actually come up quite a bit. So that's something I don't see in there either. Now, I could sit here all day and probably read more and more things for you that I don't see typically in these terms of use, or really in any contracts that I see you get online for free, even stuff that you get online from like a friend or somebody you met in a group or a community, because we don't know where they got it from, and we don't know if it was drafted by a lawyer. We don't know how many changes they made to it. And really, at the end of the day, what I see make the most difference is when people feel confident about the contracts and policies that they use in their business, because that's what's going to get you to confidently enforce it and confidently put yourself out there more often. I'm more concerned about you not worrying about promoting your online course or selling more of your digital product, because you know you've got yourself covered on the legal side. You can learn more about legally protecting your business and take my free legal workshop, 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business, at samvanderwielen.com. And to stay connected and follow along, follow me on Instagram at samvanderwielen and send me a DM to say hi.